Every accreditation cycle begins with pressure. Deadlines approach, documentation requests expand, data gaps surface, committees accelerate, recommendations linger in the background, and underneath all of that activity is something deeper. Competing priorities pulling in different directions. Regulators require compliance, boards require accountability, faculty require autonomy, students require support, budgets require constraint, and strategy requires innovation. The challenge is not understanding the mission. The challenge is holding it steady while everything else accelerates. I'm Ken Clough of the Accreditation Collaborative, and this is Accreditation Unlocked. On this podcast, we explore leadership, governance, continuous improvement, and the lived realities of accreditation in higher education. In a recent essay, I wrote about how structural tension often gets blamed on leadership, when in fact, the tension is embedded in the system itself. In another episode of the podcast, we explored leading within limits, how leaders create influence without control. Today's episode brings those ideas directly into the world of accreditation. It's called Mission Before Motion, Leading Accreditation with Structural Tension. This is not an episode about how to pass your next site visit. It's about how mission function as an integrating force when institutional pressures intensify, and how accreditation reveals whether that integration is real. Structural tension is the environment. Let's begin with clarity. Structural tension is not a leadership failure. It's an organizational reality. Higher education institutions operate within systems shaped by forces leaders do not fully control. Federal regulations, state oversight, accreditor standards, enrollment volatility, financial constraints, board expectations, and faculty governance dynamics. Each of these generates legitimate demands. Each creates motion. When those motions compete, tension emerges. And when outcomes are imperfect, as they inevitably are, that tension is often personalized. Leadership is blamed. But the pressure was structural long before it was personal. Accreditation does not create this tension, it concentrates it. Accreditation amplifies what already exists. Accreditation requires institutions to demonstrate alignment with mission, evidence of student learning, financial sustainability, effective governance, regulatory compliance, and continuous improvement. Each of these areas intersects within a different domain of institutional life, such as academic affairs, finance, institutional research, student services, compliance, or board governance. Accreditation gathers them into one structured moment of evaluation, and that gathering can feel destabilizing because it demands integration. Leading within limits. In the episode Leading Within Limits, we explored a difficult but necessary truth. Leaders rarely control the full system. They operate within constraint. No president can eliminate federal regulation. No provost can override accreditation standards. No board can ignore financial reality indefinitely. Leadership under constraint requires a different posture. Not control, but integration. Not denial of limits, but clarification within them. Accreditation makes this reality visible. It forces leaders to explain how decisions are made inside boundaries, and it reveals whether mission is guiding those decisions or whether competing pressures are fragmenting them. Mission as an integrative force. Mission is not decorative language. It is interpretive architecture. In environments shaped by structural tension, mission serves as the organizing framework. Without it, compliance feels imposed, budget decisions feel punitive, governance feels political, and accreditation feels burdensome. But with it, constraints become contextual, trade-offs become intelligible, decisions become coherent, and motion becomes integrated. Mission does not remove tension, it aligns it. It allows competing priorities to be interpreted rather than collided. Why clarifying the why stabilizes institutions. In high-pressure environments, the instinct is acceleration, more documentation, more policy revisions, and more meetings. Doing, or motion, increases. But without integrated reasoning, motion fragments. Clarifying why does something deeper. It slows reactive decision-makings. It integrates compliance, finance, pedagogy, and strategy. It exposes assumptions. It builds trust. Because when leaders explain, here is the regulatory constraint, here is the financial boundary, here is how this connects to mission, or here is the range of motion available, they are not defending themselves, they are stabilizing the institution. Clarity of purpose prevents fragmentation under pressure. The self-study, the written embodiment of tension. There is one place where all of this becomes tangible. The self-study. Too often, institutions treat the self-study as a compliance artifact, a polished report, a defensive document, or a carefully curated narrative of adequacy. But a strong self-study is something else entirely. It is the written embodiment of structural tension. It is where the institution explains how it operates, how it balances competing priorities, how it succeeds, and how it adjusts when it falls short. Accreditors already know tension exists. They know resources are finite. They know governance is complex. And they know that institutions are navigating market shifts, regulatory demands, and financial realities. They are not looking for perfection. They are looking for coherence. A self-study that pretends everything is fine lacks credibility. A self-study that promises to fix everything lacks realism. But a self-study that says, here is our mission. Here are the constraints we operate within. Here is how we prioritize. Here is where we are strong. Here is where we are still refining. Or here is where we close the loop. That document reflects maturity. It reflects leadership within limits. And it reflects mission integrated with motion. The self-study is not a marketing piece. It is not an apology. It is not performance. It is explanation. And explanation builds trust. When a visiting team reads a self-study that clearly articulates how governance functions under pressure, how budget decisions connect to strategy, how assessments inform change, or how leadership integrates regulatory and mission considerations, they see coherence, not flawlessness, but coherence. And coherence is what signals institutional health. The process of writing a self-study does something else as well. It teaches the institution about itself. Faculty see connections across divisions. Administrators recognize patterns they had not fully articulated. Governance bodies understand how their decisions fit into larger structures. That act of writing forces integration, and integration is the antidote to fragmentation. Continuous improvement as institutional character. Continuous improvement is often treated as mechanical. Collect data, analyze results, implement change, document action. But first mission institutions approach improvement interpretively. They ask, what does this data mean for our mission? What structural tension does this reveal? How do we respond within our limits? Is the reasoning viable? Or is the reasoning viable? Improvement becomes identity, not just mechanism. It reflects how the institution learns under constraint. When pressure intensifies. There are moments when constraint becomes more visible. A monitoring report is issued, a financial challenge narrows options, enrollment declines, or regulatory shifts demand immediate response. This is where structural tension becomes personal. Leaders are often criticized. Decisions are questions. Options feel limited. Mission-first leadership does not deny constraint, it clarifies it. Here is the boundary. Here is the range of motion. Or here is how this decision protects long-term purpose. Understanding may not eliminate disagreement, but it preserves legitimacy, and legitimacy sustains trust. The culmination of leadership. Across these reflections, a pattern emerges. Structural tension is systemic. Leadership operates within limits. Mission integrates competing forces. Accreditation becomes the arena where coordination is tested. It reveals whether institutional motion is fragmented or integrated. It reveals whether mission is lived or merely stated. And it reveals whether explanation is habit or episodic. When mission orders motion, institutions develop resilience. When motion outruns mission, fragmentation increases. A few practical reflection questions. Before finalizing your next self-study draft, here are a few questions to consider. Have we explained not only what we do, but why? Have we acknowledged constraint honestly? Is our reasoning visible across domains? Can multiple people articulate our approach consistently? Before bringing forward a governance action, have I clarified structural tension? Have I integrated competing priorities into the explanation? Is mission clearly ordering motion? These questions do not eliminate pressure. They help organize it. Bringing it all together. Structural tension will not disappear. Constraints will remain. Higher education will continue to operate within limits. And accreditation will continue to apply pressure. The question is not whether institutions will move. They will. The question is whether motion will fragment or integrate the institution. Mission before motion does not delay action. It ensures coherence. Mission is not inspiration. It is integration under pressure. And the self-study is its written embodiment. Governance is a lived practice. Continuous improvement is discipline. Proposals pass, reports are archived, cycles conclude, but institutional character remains. And character is formed in how we navigate tension, not how we avoid it. I'm Ken Clough from the Accreditation Collaborative, and this has been Accreditation Unlocked. If this episode resonated with you, especially if you're working through a self-study or navigating competing pressures within your institution, I invite you to share it with a colleague or your leadership team. Accreditation is not simply procedural. It is an opportunity to clarify purpose, integrate constraint, and strengthen institutional coherence. Until next time, stay thoughtful, stay steady, and continue leading within limits with mission guiding motion. Thanks for listening.